Hi, I'm Demian Gover. When I was much younger, I had a lot of questions, like everyone else. I wanted to know, well, I wanted to know where I was from, where I was going, what I was capable of, what the world was like. Um, I really wanted to know the meaning of life. And for a long, long time of my life, I would keep asking those questions and not getting back the kind of answers that satisfied me. At least not answers that I could work with, that I could do anything with, and achieve any kind of meaningful results. And that was very frustrating. Spent a lot of years, several decades, actually, um, being very frustrated and disappointed with the way, with the way some aspects of my life were turning out. Um, and I realized I didn't have a plan. I didn't have um, anything that I could really hold on to that would assure me that anything that I was going to do was going to work. And then, then some things changed. Um, I learned some stuff. I learned some information that is I didn't realize had been hiding in plain sight the whole time. But the thing was that whenever I noticed some of these ideas, I didn't buy it. Let's just be honest. It seemed both too good to be true and too completely off the wall at the same time. So whenever I heard those ideas, I dismissed them, and so uh, it's always in the last place you look, right? So finally, I, I gave in, and I was presented some literature, ideas, um, some things that completely changed the way I looked at things, and it not only gave an explanation of why things are the way they are. It gave actionable uh, methods of how to use your mind. And this changed everything for me because I realized that when I started to put it into practical application, it just worked. And so I've spent the past 7+ years of my life studying this information and these methods. And I've realized that we try to overcomplicate things really quickly, and it turns out that the core of these ideas is a lot simpler than we thought they were. I had studied theology and religion, and comparative religion and philosophy. I'd studied science and psychology. And what I found was all of these different disciplines have part of the puzzle. They all have part of the answers, but they're all incomplete. Um, when we look at the way people talk about theology now and religion now and spirituality, um, there's so much of that information that is actually more more correct and more usable than a lot of people who know, even the people who are studying it and discussing it. And the same is true with science. What is being discovered now about the way the world works, about the way the universe works, and the way you relate to the universe, the way your mind relates to the universe. Um, it turns out we're really all talking about the same thing, but we're talking about it in little pieces of the puzzle, and we're not talking about the whole thing. When and I'm not at all suggesting that you need to study everything about science and theology. That's not the issue here. Um, I love science. I have great respect for science. Science is a great way of knowing. It dispels a lot of superstitions, but it turns out it's not a particularly great way for understanding. Um, and that should be the aim and goal of religion and theology, is to understand. Um, but when all we do is philosophize about these ideas and we don't actually put them into practice, we end up coming up with a lot of really distracting and really destructive superstitions. Um, so when we talk about knowing and doing, usually we talk about knowing as being a mental thing. It's a cerebral thing. We know things cognitively and intellectually, and then usually when we talk about doing, doing is the physical part, right? There's the knowing and the doing. There's the mental part, and then there's the physical part. And I'd like to let's just get started by saying that, of course, things will eventually unfold, physically. But when we're talking about these mental ideas of actually working with the mind, we're working with the way the mind works and working with the way we relate to the universe. Both the knowing and the doing are almost completely and totally mental activities. So it's one thing to know, and we can know things mentally. We can know how the mind works. We can know the how we relate to the rest of the material world. We can know how the mind relates to the material world. Um, but doing it is also mental. The doing is completely and totally the activity of conscious mental choice. And so, as we talk about things in the future, um, it is always going to come back to knowing things and doing things completely and totally mentally. And we'll talk about why we don't have to worry so much about the physical aspect of what we do, because we're going to do it. The physical body has no alternative but to get up and do whatever the mind is convinced of. And so we're going to talk about um, how we do that, how we convince ourselves, how we change our mind. And so I hope you enjoy these talks that we have. We've got a lot to discuss and a lot to look at. So please join us in the future, and feel free to let me know if you have any questions. Again, I'm Demian Gover. Thank you.